A swipe for adventure, but she uncovered the billionaire no one knew. Asterisk the digital footprint. Naomi Parker glared at her laptop screen, fingers flying across the keyboard as she tried to patch the security vulnerability before her Friday evening. Plans. The neon blue notification light on her phone blinked persistently beside her. Another match on the dating app she'd installed last week during a moment of weakness. It's just 5 more minutes, she muttered to her empty apartment, tucking a strand of auburn hair behind her ear. At 28, Naomi had risen to become the lead cybersecurity analyst at TechDefend, a position that demanded her constant attention but rarely her creativity. Dating had become an afterthought, scheduled between security breaches and system updates. The vulnerability finally patched. She picked up her phone and scrolled through her notifications. Anu Mahilija, 32, software engineer. His profile picture showed a man with kind eyes and a subtle smile, standing against a backdrop of mountains. Unlike the other profiles she'd swiped through, his contained no flashy cars or designer watches, just a simple description. Building digital fortresses by day, reading science fiction by night. Coffee enthusiast seeking someone who understands both code and human connection. Surprisingly refreshing, Naomi said to herself, tapping out a message before she could overthink it. Within minutes, they were exchanging messages about encryption protocols and favorite sci-fi authors. By Sunday, they'd agreed to meet at a small coffee shop downtown. The cafe buzzed with weekend energy as Naomi arrived, scanning the room for the face from the profile. She spotted him in the corner, laptop open, completely absorbed in whatever he was typing. He wore a simple gray Henley and jeans that had clearly seen better days, not exactly what she'd expected in Boston's tech scene, where success was usually displayed more conspicuously. Elijah, she ventured. He looked up, and recognition flashed across his face. Naomi. Sorry, I was just finishing something. He closed his laptop. I got you a coffee black with 1 sugar, right? She raised an eyebrow. Good memory. Occupational. Hazard. I remember patterns. His smile was warm but reserved. Their conversation flowed easily from cybersecurity to quantum computing, and Naomi found herself drawn to his thoughtful insights. Unlike her colleagues who competed to demonstrate their technical prowess, Elijah asked questions and listened intently to her answers. So your company's working on that new security protocol, he said, stirring his third coffee. The one with the vulnerability and the authentication sequence? Naomi froze.
Ow.
Did you know about that? We haven't published those specs, Elijah shrugged. Public code repositories reveal more than people think. I noticed it last week while browsing through some open source contributions. And you didn't exploit it? She asked, professional curiosity piqued. I submitted an anonymous patch suggestion, he replied. Check ticket number 45,721. Naomi pulled out her phone, quickly accessing her company's system. There it was, an elegant solution to a problem that had stumped their team for weeks. This is ... brilliant. You could have asked for a consulting fee. Money isn't everything, he said, glancing at his worn leather watch. Some things matter. More than financial reward, as their coffee date extended into evening. Naomi noticed other puzzling details. Elijah's laptop was a high-end custom build, yet he mentioned taking the bus. He demonstrated expert knowledge of systems that only senior-level engineers at major tech companies would understand, yet claimed to work independently on projects that interest me. When they finally parted ways, Elijah walked her to her car, newer model than his own battered sedan parked nearby. I'd like to see you again, he said simply. I'd like that too, Naomi replied, curiosity now fully engaged. But next time I want to hear less about encryption algorithms and more about you. His expression flickered with something hesitation. That might be the one code I'm still working on cracking myself. As she drove home, Naomi couldn't shake the feeling that Elijah was a contradiction, brilliant yet unassuming, knowledgeable yet mysterious. Her analytical mind started cataloging the inconsistencies, unaware that she had just begun to uncover a digital footprint that would lead her down an unexpected path, the anomaly protocol. Monday morning arrived with chaos at TechDefend's headquarters. Naomi hurried through the security doors to find her team huddled around monitors, faces grim. "Breach in progress," her colleague Jackson announced as she dropped her bag. "Someone's hitting our client database. Sophisticated attack pattern we've never seen before." Naomi slipped into work mode, fingers racing across her keyboard. "Isolate the affected servers. Let's track this thing." Hours blurred together as they fought to contain the damage. By evening, the situation had stabilized, but the aftermath was grim. Several major clients had their data compromised, and Tech Defen's reputation hung by a thread. "We need external help," admitted Marcus, the CTO, as the exhausted team gathered in the conference room. "I'm calling in consultants tomorrow." Naomi's phone vibrated with a text from Elijah. "Heard about the attack? Can help, no strings." She stared at the message. How had he heard so quickly? Against her better judgment, she showed Marcus the text. "Who is this guy?" he asked skeptically. "Someone I met recently. He's talented with security systems." Marcus laughed bitterly. "At this point, I'd hire a teenager with a laptop if they could help. Bring him in." The next morning, Elijah arrived wearing the same unassuming clothes, carrying only a weathered backpack. He greeted Naomi with a quiet smile before Marcus whisked him away to sign NDAs. By afternoon, Elijah had commandeered a workstation, his focus absolute as he traced the attack's origin. Naomi watched him work, mesmerized by his methodology, like anything she'd seen before. They exploited a quantum computing vulnerability. He explained softly as she brought him coffee. "It's theoretical, shouldn't exist in practical applications yet." "How do you know about it?" His eyes met hers briefly. "'Cause I helped develop the defense against it 3 years ago." "For which company?" "For myself," he replied, returning to his screen. By evening, Elijah had not only identified the breach method but implemented a countermeasure that sealed Tech Defense systems more securely than before the attack. As the team celebrated this small victory, Naomi noticed Marcus watching Elijah with growing interest. "We should offer him a job," Marcus whispered to her. "Whatever he's making elsewhere, we'll double it." Later, walking to the parking lot, Naomi finally asked the question that had been bothering her. "Elijah, who are you really? You work independently, but understand systems that billion-dollar companies haven't even published research on?" Stopped walking. "Would you believe me if I said, I'm just someone who enjoys solving puzzles?" "No," she replied honestly. "Not anymore." Elijah sighed, then gestured to his old sedan. "Have dinner with me? I can explain some things, but not here." They drove to a modest apartment building on the outskirts of Boston. Elijah's unit was surprisingly Spartan furnished, with essentials and walls lined with books. The only luxury was an elaborate computer setup hidden behind a sliding bookcase. 6 years ago, he began as they ate takeout at his small kitchen table, "I developed an algorithm that changed how secure communications work. Instead of selling it to tech giants, I implemented it through a network of anonymous nodes." Paused. "The attack on your company was looking for fragments of that system. Why would they target us?" "Because I recently started using your company's VPN service," he admitted. "They're tracking me, and now they've found a connection to you." Naomi set down her fork. "So you're saying our company was collateral damage in someone's hunt for you?" "Why would anyone go to such lengths?" "Because my algorithm is worth billions," he said simply. "Because I've kept my identity as its creator hidden." As the implications dawned on her, Naomi realized she had stumbled into something far bigger than a dating app match. This modest man living in a simple apartment held secrets that powerful people would do anything to obtain. "I shouldn't have involved you," Elijah said softly. "But when I saw the attack pattern, I knew I couldn't stand by. And honestly, I wanted to see you again." Naomi looked at him differently now, behind his unassuming exterior. Someone who had chosen anonymity over fame and fortune. She wasn't sure whether to be impressed or terrified. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now," he replied, "we prepare for them to come after both of us." The encryption key sunlight filtered through Elijah's apartment blinds as Naomi awoke on his couch. After their conversation had stretched into the night, he had insisted she'd stay rather than drive home exhausted. She found him already working. At his computer station, surrounded by monitors displaying code sequences she couldn't begin to comprehend. "Morning," he said without looking up. "Coffee's ready." As she poured herself a cup, Naomi noticed a small device on the counter blinking. With a red light, "What's that, signal jammer?" Elijah replied. "Prevents anyone from listening in." "Standard morning routine." "Nothing about this is standard," she muttered, joining him at the workstation. "So walk me through it again." "You created an encryption algorithm that powers ... What exactly?" Elijah finally turned to face her. "It secures roughly 40% of the world's digital financial transactions, critical infrastructure systems, and government communications." He spoke matter-of-factly, as if discussing the weather. "I call it the quantum mesh. And you did this alone?" "I had help implementing it," he admitted. "A small team that doesn't know my real identity. We communicate through secure channels." Naomi tried to process the scale of what he was describing. "And you've made ... billions," he confirmed. "The algorithm licenses through a complex network of shell companies. The money sits in accounts I rarely touch." "Why live like this, then?" She gestured around the modest apartment. "Because normal life disappears when the world knows you're wealthy," he said softly. "I watched it happen to my father, a brilliant inventor who became so isolated by his success that he died alone, surrounded by people who only valued his money." For the first time, Naomi saw vulnerability in his eyes. "But why help tech defend?" she pressed. "Why risk exposure?" His smile was hesitant. "Initially, professional curiosity about your security systems. Then I met you, and priorities shifted." A moment hung between them, interrupted by Elijah's phone alert. His expression darkened as he read the message. "What is it?" Naomi asked. "My monitoring system detected unusual activities. Someone's trying to correlate my digital identities." He stood abruptly. "We need to move. Pack whatever you brought." "Move where?" "Somewhere safer. The people after my algorithm won't stop with yesterday's attack." 20 minutes later, they were driving in a different Cara, nondescript sedan. Elijah had retrieved from a nearby garage. Naomi's head spun with questions as they headed north out of Boston. "I have a secure location in Vermont," he explained. "We can work from there to neutralize the threat. Tech defend." "My job?" Naomi asked. "I've sent Marcus documentation of the breach's origin, evidence pointing to Helix Technologies." He glanced at her. "They're the ones hunting me, led by their founder, Richard Vance. He suspected I exist for years." They arrived at a remote cabin nestled among towering pines as evening approached. Despite its rustic exterior, the interior housed state-of-the-art technology concealed within handcrafted furniture. As Elijah established their secure connection, Naomi received a call from Marcus. "Where are you?" he demanded. "The FBI just showed up asking questions about your consultant friend." "What are they saying?" she asked, heart racing. "That he might be connected to a major cybersecurity breach." "Naomi, if you're with him, be careful."
After?
Hanging up, she confronted Elijah. "The FBI is looking for you." "Vance is doing," he replied calmly. "Has connections in government." Classic misdirection. That night, as a storm raged outside, Elijah finally shared his complete story. Born Elijah Winters, son of tech pioneer Samuel Winters, he had grown up watching wealth destroy his family. After his father's death, he'd erased his connection to the Winters fortune and built his own legacy, one hidden from public view. The encryption algorithm was never about money, he explained. It was about creating something truly secure in an increasingly vulnerable world. As lightning illuminated his face, Naomi realized she was seeing the real Elijah for the first time. Brilliant, idealistic, and deeply scarred by his past. The complexity of his character matched the intricacy of the code he had created. "Tomorrow," he said, "we start fighting back. Are you with me?" Naomi considered everything she was risking: her career, possibly her freedom. Yet, the alternative, walking away from this extraordinary situation and this enigmatic man, seemed impossible now. "I'm with you," she decided. "But we do this my way too. No more secrets between us." Their hands met across the table, and in that touch was a promise they would protect not just his algorithm, but each other. The security breach the Vermont cabin transformed into a digital war room over the next 48 hours. Elijah and Naomi worked in tandem, her expertise in vulnerabilities, complementing his mastery of defense systems.
True.
Secure channels, they monitored Helix Technologies' movements while strengthening the quantum mesh's protection layers. Vance's team is good, Naomi admitted, stretching after hours hunched over keyboards. They've almost identified 3 of your proxy servers. But they still don't know what they're looking for, Elijah replied. The algorithm is fragmented, across hundreds of nodes. Without the master key, he tapped his temple. They can't reassemble it. Notification pinged on Naomi's laptop. Marcus is trying to reach me again. Tech Defend is in chaos, clients fleeing, stock plummeting. We need to clear my name and yours. Elijah paused his typing. We could release evidence of Vance's attacks. Not enough, Naomi argued. We need to prove he orchestrated everything, the breach, the FBI investigation. We need his internal communications. Their eyes met, both recognizing the implication. You're suggesting we hack Helix Technologies, Elijah said, unless you have a better idea? The plan they devised was audacious, using Elijah's knowledge of his own algorithm's weaknesses. They would create a narrow vulnerability in Helix's communication systems, one they could exploit to extract evidence of Vance's illegal activities. Dawn broke on the 3rd day. They implemented the first phase. Naomi created a distraction of falsified security alert that would direct Helix's cybersecurity team away from their actual target. Meanwhile, Elijah established a ghost connection to their internal servers. I'm in, he announced after tense minutes of silence. Downloading their executive communications now. The files they uncovered revealed the full extent of Vance's obsession. For years, he had tracked digital anomalies that might lead to the quantum mesh's creator. His notes referred to the anonymous architect as Phantom, describing him as potentially the wealthiest individual in tech history. He's been watching for patterns in financial markets, security implementations, even energy usage, Naomi observed. Scrolling through documents. And here direct orders to target Tech Defend after detecting your VPN usage. Elijah's expression darkened as he reviewed the evidence. He's planning something bigger. Look at these resource allocations. A dedicated server farm, quantum computing resources, specialized personnel, all focused on a project codenamed Skeleton Key. He's trying to build a master backdoor to the entire quantum mesh, Elijah realized. If he succeeds, he could access any system secured by my algorithm, which is practically everything that matters, Naomi finished. Banks, power grids, military communications. Their discovery was interrupted by warning alerts across their monitors. They've detected our intrusion, Elijah announced, fingers flying across his keyboard, and they've tracked our location. We have maybe 20 minutes. They worked frantically to secure the evidence while erasing traces of their presence in Helix's systems. As Naomi backed up the final files, Elijah was already packing essential equipment. There's a helicopter landing zone half a mile from here, he said, surprising her again with resources she hadn't known he possessed. I have a pilot on standby. They fled into the forest just as black SUVs appeared on the cabin's access road. Hiking through dense underbrush, they reached a small clearing where a sleek helicopter waited. Within minutes, they were airborne, watching Vance's security team swarm the now-empty cabin below. Where are we going? Naomi shouted over the rotor. Noise. The one place they won't expect, Elijah replied. Public. The helicopter delivered them to a private airstrip where a jet waited. Hours later, they landed in San Francisco. Instead of another hideout, Elijah led Naomi to a luxury hotel in the heart of downtown. We're hiding in plain sight, he explained. As they entered a penthouse suite, preparing our countermove. That evening, as the city lights sparkled below their windows, Elijah opened a secure laptop. It's time to use Vance's playbook against him. We release evidence of his corporate espionage to select journalists and federal agencies simultaneously. He'll deny everything, Naomi pointed out. Not if we demonstrate what he was trying to steal. Elijah's eyes met hers. I'm going to reveal a portion of the quantum mesh enough to prove its existence and my ownership. Naomi understood the magnitude of this decision. You'll be exposing yourself. Partially, he agreed. A calculated risk to neutralize a greater threat. As they finalized their strategy, Naomi noticed a subtle change in Elijah. The secretive programmer was evolving into someone ready to claim his legacy. She wondered if there would still be room in his life for her once he stepped into the light. When he caught her watching him, his expression softened, having second thoughts. "Just wondering where we'll stand when this is over," she admitted. "When you're no longer just Elijah the programmer." Crossed the room to take her hand. "That depends on whether you want to be part of whatever comes next." The question hung between them as the city hummed below. Their future as uncertain as the outcome of tomorrow's digital battle. The authentication protocol's sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows as Naomi awoke in the penthouse suite. For a disorienting moment, the luxury surroundings seemed like a dream after days of hiding in a remote cabin. She found Elijah at the dining table, surrounded by multiple screens displaying news headlines. "It worked," she breathed, joining him. "Phase. One worked," Elijah corrected, passing her coffee. "Vance is cornered, but dangerous. The FBI has raided Helix's headquarters, but he's already disappeared." Naomi scrolled through messages for Marcus Sectefend, had been officially cleared of wrongdoing, her position secure. Yet returning to her old life seemed impossible now. "What's our next move?" she asked. "Complete the authentication protocol," Elijah replied. "I've arranged a meeting with federal cybersecurity officials this afternoon. I'll provide verification of my identity as the quantum mesh architect and documentation of its security infrastructure." "You're really going public?" "Partially," he clarified, "establishing legal protection for my work while maintaining some privacy. The world doesn't need another tech celebrity. It needs secure systems." As they prepared for the meeting, Naomi sensed Elijah's tension. For someone who had lived in the shadows for years, this limited exposure represented a profound change. "Second thoughts?" she asked, echoing his question from the night before. "Calculating risks," he replied with a half-smile. "Once I authenticate myself to authorities, there's no going back." The federal building's secure conference room felt sterile after their days of intimate collaboration. Government officials, in formal attire, examined Elijah's credentials with measured skepticism until he demonstrated proprietary access to the quantum mesh's core architecture. Naomi watched their expressions transform from doubt to astonishment as they grasped the significance of who sat before them. "Mr. Winters," the lead official finally said, "your algorithm has been securing critical infrastructure for years. Why come forward now?" "Because the secrecy that protected my work has become a vulnerability," Elijah answered. "Recognition 9, establishing a defensive perimeter." As they left the building, media had already gathered someone had leaked information about the meeting. Elijah guided Naomi through a side exit to an awaiting car. "That wasn't supposed to happen," he muttered as they pulled away. "Vance still has connections." A notification appeared on his secure phone. Unauthorized access attempts detected across multiple quantum mesh nodes. "He's making his move," Elijah said grimly. "The Skeleton Key project." They raced back to the hotel, where Elijah activated emergency protocols he'd built into the algorithm years earlier. "I need to manually verify each affected node," he explained, fingers moving rapidly across keyboards. "Can you monitor the system integrity from that station?" For hours they fought a silent battle across digital space, blocking intrusion attempts as Vance's team hammered at the quantum mesh from multiple vectors. Naomi's cybersecurity expertise proved crucial as she identified attack patterns and developed countermeasures in real time. "He's persistent," she noted as midnight approached, "and well-resourced." "He's also predictable," Elijah replied, a new calm in his voice. "Watch." He executed a complex sequence that appeared to create vulnerabilities in critical nodes. As Vance's team redirected their attacks to these apparent weaknesses, Elijah sprung his trap. The false vulnerabilities were actually detection systems that captured their methods and digital signatures. "Got them," he announced as tracking data poured in. "Federal agents can find Vance now." Dawn was breaking when confirmation came. Richard Vance had been apprehended at a private airfield, attempting to flee the country. The immediate threat neutralized, Elijah finally allowed himself to relax. "What happens now?" Naomi asked, as they stood watching the sunrise from the penthouse balcony. Now I have choices, he replied thoughtfully. I can recede back into anonymity, establish a more visible but controlled presence, or step fully into the public eye as Elijah Winters, creator of the quantum mesh. Which are you leaning toward? He turned to face her. That depends partly. On Yumi? Naomi questioned. These past days have shown me something I didn't expect, he admitted. That sharing my work and my life with someone who understands both the code and the person behind it, ... changes everything. Are you offering me a job or something more? She asked, heart beating faster. I'm suggesting a partnership, he said softly. Professional, personal, whatever forms feel right. The authentication protocol is complete, Naomi. You've seen who I really am. The question is whether that person is someone you want in your life. Naomi considered everything they'd experienced, the danger, the brilliance, the unexpected connection that had formed under extraordinary circumstances. She thought about returning to her predictable life at Tech Defend versus exploring this new world with Elijah. She said finally, but I am interested in your mind, your work into you. His smile held more warmth than she'd yet seen. Then we have a starting point. 3 months later, the newly established Winters Foundation announced its first initiative. An open-source security framework built on principles of the quantum mesh. Elijah maintained a carefully managed public profile, enough to protect his work but limited, enough to preserve a measure of normalcy. Naomi directed the Foundation's cybersecurity education program while consulting on next-generation encryption systems. Together, they found balance between visibility and privacy, influence and freedom, ambition and connection. Their partnership, like the algorithm that had brought them together, is both elegantly complex and fundamentally sound, a human authentication protocol built on honesty, respect, and shared purpose. In Elijah's private office, away from the Foundation's gleaming headquarters, he kept a framed screenshot of their first dating app conversation, a digital footprint that had led to an unexpected destination. Beside it sat Naomi's access badge, granted with the highest security clearance, and inscribed with words that summed up their extraordinary journey. Sometimes the most valuable encryption key is trust.